Most of us think of disinformation as politically motivated. We may think of a government-sponsored story or message being placed in different media to convince us of an alternative view, regardless of whether that view has any basis in fact. And that's true. That's what a lot of disinformation is about. We may not agree on whether a particular story is or is not disinformation, or even on the definition of that term. But one thing we can all agree on these days, there seems to be a lot of it about. That is because creating and spreading information is now virtually a costless exercise, thanks to the internet and social media. But it is also because disinformation has become a business that is inadvertently funded by millions of dollars of advertisers' money. Here are some examples. These sites that I'm going to show are mostly US sites. They'd call themselves news sites, but they in fact peddle highly disinforming narratives and conspiracies. And as you can see, they carry ads too, in this case. More conspiracies, more ads. And this slide, a faintly ridiculous and deeply polarizing narrative, and content which I'm pretty sure the advertiser, in this case Qatar Airways, would be extremely unhappy about being placed next to. So what do all of these advertisers have in common? They have all inadvertently funded disinforming, polarizing, and hate-filled content. They all had no idea they were doing so, and even if they had done, they would have had no way of stopping it. How and why is this possible? This is why disinformation has become a business. In the last 20 years, internet advertising spending has gone from virtually nothing to virtually everything. $280 billion is the forecast for next year for internet advertising, as opposed to $190 billion for TV. Much of this enormous growth has been at the expense of other forms of media, notably print. And it is one of the reasons why our journalists are in such dire straits at the moment. Online advertising has been a gold rush. And as with any gold rush, there come unintended consequences and unscrupulous actors wanting to cash in. And in a world where the volume of content rises exponentially, and there is no way of getting paid for that content except advertising, the key to capturing a piece of that gold rush is to rise above the noise with the most attention-grabbing content you can make. We are hardwired to react more quickly to negative stimuli than positive stimuli. Our brains react faster to negative emotions. And from an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. It's more important to get out of the way of a charging woolly mammoth quickly than it is to rush to embrace a neighbor. In the online world, this means that if you want to capture attention, and hence advertising dollars, you'd best make your content appeal to our negative emotions, our fear, our hate, our disgust, and our anger. Therefore, online, outrage, fear equals hate, hate equals clicks, clicks equal dollars. This process is automatic and it's instant. The rise of what's called programmatic advertising in the last decade means that the decision on what advert to show you is made in the split second that you click on the web page. A real-time auction for your eyeballs is taking place in the milliseconds that it takes for the ads to load. And it is a computer that decides whether your eyeballs fit the advertiser's requirements. And while an advertiser can add requirements to ensure that their adverts don't end up next to some types of content, like pornography or gambling, there is currently no reliable way for an advertiser to avoid their adverts ending up next to disinforming or hateful content. So disinformation merchants have a free rein. Create some highly engaging, clickable content, tapping into the worst sides of our human nature, and watch the ad dollars roll in. Disinformation has become a business. But how big a business? Nobody knows. Nobody really knows how many untruths are out there on the internet, nor how many of them carry advertising. What we've done at the Global Disinformation Index is amass a large database of disinforming websites, about 20,000 and counting. And we've estimated the advertising that may have ended up on these websites over the last year. And that's where this number comes from, 235 million. It's quite a big number. But it is just 20,000 websites. I am sure we did not get them all. So this number probably represents the tip of the iceberg of the money that can be made from disinformation. So disinformation is growing, not just because it's now easier than ever to create and spread, but because it is profitable to do so. This is what GDI is doing to combat the scourge of disinformation. We are developing a prototype that will give a risk rating to news domains based on their risk of disinforming. A bit like a credit rating agency scores financial products on risk, GDI does not seek to say whether a specific piece of content is true or false, but rather assess the risk of any entire website disinforming. We focus less on the noun, disinformation, and more on the verb, to disinform. Our methodology combines both artificial intelligence and human intelligence. AI to cope with the huge scale and the long tail of the internet, and human review for a smaller number of very highly trafficked websites in any given market, where more subtle assessment of risk is required. Our technology is a layered system, a little bit like a cake. The bottom layer is an AI-powered classifier. It looks for structural features in how a website has been constructed, such as what technologies it uses. Hastily created junky sites often have telltale signs in their construction, which can be detected by algorithms. This layer is completely language agnostic and can be deployed globally from the start. The middle layer of the cake is also AI-powered, but it's based on lexical features of a site. For example, its format. Does it look like a blog or a news site? Its content. Is it carrying anti-vax content, anti-immigration content? Who is it targeting? Is it targeting immigrants, Jews, LGBT? And its tone. Is it neutral or hyperbolic? The icing on the cake is the human review of a smaller number of sites in each country. This is done by analysts following a framework that we're developing with a network of experts from around the world. Our prototype is being tested as we speak. The ultimate aim of our layer cake is that we should be able to feed these risk ratings into the programmatic ad network, the automated ad buying process, in the moment that the ad decisions for your eyeballs are made. And we hope that this will have 3 impacts. Firstly, it will give advertisers control over where their adverts end up. And in doing so, it may help divert some of the funding that is currently funding highly polarizing, disinforming, and hateful narratives to higher risk, higher quality news and other domains. And thirdly, by disrupting the automatic process of dollars for clicks, we hope that it will make disinforming merchants less likely to create this content in the first place. This won't do anything about politically motivated disinformation. There'll be plenty of people still around to create that. And with coming elections here and other countries around the world, there'll be a lot of scope for it. But it will make it harder to recruit willing people to spread this disinformation if there is no money to be made from it. In many places, The right to say what you want is protected by law, but the right to profit from it is not. Thank you.